Welcome to the podcast, folks. Today we're discussing a really charged headline: Russia, China, India uniting in Beijing against Trump. And there's even mention of Kim on the way.
That's quite the global cocktail, isn't it? I'm ready to break it down.
Absolutely. So here's the scoop. During a 2 day summit in Beijing, Chinese leader Xi Jinping made a pretty pointed comment, criticizing what he called bullying practices by the US and, positioning China as a new global leader.
And isn't it interesting how Xi's comment came at a time when Trump's America First policies have really been stirring things up worldwide?
Exactly. The idea is that the so called house rules of a few countries, notably the US, aren't something that should be forced on others. Xi's remark
Yeah.
seems to directly call out that notion.
So, basically, Xi was framing China as an advocate for a broader world order where a few dominant players can't dictate terms to everyone else.
Right. It's like he's saying, hey, let's change the game. You got China, Russia, and even India coming together, signaling a united front against what they perceive as US overreach.
Yep.
I mean, it's a strategic balancing act.
Now, here's a point I've been wondering about. India has traditionally been quite independent when it comes to global alignments. Do you think their presence truly signifies a tactical alliance against the US?
That's a great question. India's involvement does add a twist, because historically, it's balanced relations between major powers. So its presence here might not be a full-throated alliance, but more a shared interest in counterbalancing what they see as coercive power. It's a nuanced stance, really.
Yeah, that nuance makes a lot of sense. And what about the mention of Kim being on the way? That hints at North Korea stepping into this mix too, right?
Exactly. The Kim on the way reference suggests that North Korea under Kim Jong-un might be aligning or at least engaging in this shifting power dynamic. It adds an extra layer of complexity given North Korea's history and its nuclear ambitions. This could
Yeah.
further destabilize the region.
It's almost like we're watching a geopolitical domino effect unfold. So, in Beijing, how are these leaders really playing the long game?
Their strategy seems to be rebalancing global power in their favor. By uniting, they're attempting to create a counterweight against US dominance. Xi's message about not imposing a limited set of rules clearly resonates with that vision.
And it isn't just about rhetoric, right? The choice of location, Beijing, carries symbolic weight for China to assert its regional and global leadership.
Absolutely, Beijing is like the nerve center now, almost a stage for a new world order. And if you think about it, it's like they're saying, we're more than willing to work together if it means a reshuffle of the global hierarchy. It's a power
Yeah.
play at its finest.
Interesting. But don't you think it might be oversimplifying to view this solely as an anti-US coalition?
I hear you, yet, while the anti US sentiment is very visible, the underlying motivations are, multifaceted. For instance, each of these nations has its own agenda: Russia with its strategic reach, China with its global leadership aspirations, and India balancing regional power.
Right.
So it's more like a convergence of diverse, albeit overlapping interests, rather than a formal union.
That's a good point. It reminds me of like several international alliances where shared interests bring together very different players. It's not a love fest, but rather a pragmatic arrangement.
Exactly. And then there's the direct jab at Trump's policies. His America First doctrine, especially in foreign policy, has been seen as disruptive by these world leaders. So,
Right.
this meeting in Beijing is essentially a counter narrative.
Do you think that this kind of summit truly changes the global order, or is it more about signaling intent?
It's definitely a bit of both. The strategic messaging is clear, challenging the established order, and at the same time, there are tangible policy shifts over time. It's like planting seeds that might grow into deeper strategic
Yeah.
partnerships later on. That seed planting analogy fits well.
And then we have the media playing a role. CNN, for example, is giving this headline that signals significant geopolitical shifts. How much do you think the media framing affects public perception here?
The media definitely amplifies the narrative. Headlines like Russia, China, India unite against Trump are designed to evoke a sense of urgency and a dramatic shift in power dynamics. And sometimes the media might oversimplify these complex alliances for easier consumption by the public, which is definitely something worth critiquing.
Right? There's always that risk of the narrative being too black and white, when in fact it's a multicolored spectrum of interests and strategies.
Yes, exactly. And while the headlines are catchy, The reality is that global politics is never just one side versus another. It's like a chess match where each move is calculated based on historical ties, economic interests, and, well, strategic
Yeah,
defense. That chess match analogy is spot on.
I agree. And speaking of chess, do you think this summit could lead to a reordering of alliances?
It certainly has the potential to. The formation of a bloc that directly criticizes US policies, and the idea that a small group of countries shouldn't impose rules on everyone, might inspire other global players to reassess their positions. It's
Yep.
like watching the early moves of a complex game.
But on the flip side, isn't there a risk that such public proclamations might escalate tensions even more?
That's a critical point. Public declarations might indeed tighten the rhetoric, and while they serve to solidify alliances among some, they can also push opposing sides into more hardened positions.
Right.
It's a double edged sword.
And what about the economic ramifications? These alliances often seem to bicker over trade policies and economic sanctions alongside political maneuvers.
Oh, definitely. Economic diplomacy is as integral as political rhetoric. When you look at how these nations interact, it's not just about military or ideological dominance. There's a constant interplay of trade, sanctions, and economic leverage. That, in turn, can significantly impact global markets and economies.
It's really a multifaceted approach, balancing political statements with economic strategies to create real influence.
Exactly. And if you consider how rapidly global alliances have shifted in recent years, it feels like we're in a transitional phase where the future order is still up
Yeah.
in the air. Every move now might be a harbinger of bigger realignments.
One last angle I'd like to discuss. There's an inherent unpredictability with North Korea. Bringing Kim into this discussion might add another volatile element.
For sure, North Korea is the wild card in almost any scenario. Its unpredictable nature means that while it might align with these shifts on the surface, its internal strategies, like its nuclear ambitions, could potentially throw a wrench into carefully laid plans. That
Yeah,
unpredictability makes the whole geopolitical landscape even more dynamic.
it's like watching a high stakes poker game where one player might suddenly go all in, and nobody knows what that means for the table.
Exactly, a high stakes game where every move, every statement carries both promise and risk. And while we critique and analyze these developments, the overall takeaway is clear. Global power dynamics are in flux, and traditional alliances
Yep.
are being redrawn. The complexity is enormous, yet fascinating.
It really puts into perspective how interlinked our global systems are: politics, economics, security, all entangled in these strategic maneuvers.
Absolutely, and that means staying engaged and informed is crucial. Whether it's through media channels or international summits, every headline reminds us that the world is continuously evolving.
Well, this has been an enlightening discussion. Thanks for diving into these layered dynamics with me. Truly a topic that's anything but straightforward.
Thank you, and for all of you out there, keep questioning and keep exploring these global shifts. Until next time.